Thanks for joining us here at the top of the hour on Weather Nation. A coastal low is knocking at the door of North Carolina's Outer Banks this week. Here to talk about its potential impacts is Erik Heden, Coordination Meteorologist at the National Weather Service office in Newport-Morehead City. Thank you so much for joining us. First and foremost, let's talk about some of those impacts and start with the rainfall. What are you expecting as far as totals, and who can expect the heaviest?
Really appreciate you having us on this morning. Rainfall wise, we're thinking 2 to 4 inches across most of eastern North Carolina is possible. The concern is it could come down very heavy at times, and some areas may see more than that. Just this morning, we had almost 4 inches just east of Morehead City. So we need the rain. We've been abnormally dry, but the concern is the rate of rainfall, especially if it sets up in the same area over and over again. We could have some locally minor water rises in terms of flooding in the community.
And how about those winds? How strong do the winds look like closer to the coast, and how far inland can some of those winds get gusty?
Certainly going to be breezy, especially on the Outer Banks over the next 24 hours, 40 to 45 mile per hour winds, especially in gusts. Farther inland, the wind will really drop off. So this is mainly on the Outer Banks itself. That's where we expect the strongest winds. And with those winds, dangerous conditions on the waters. We have gale warnings in effect for a large chunk of our waters. So dangerous conditions out on the water themselves.
So obviously not a time to be heading out towards the coastline. What coastal flooding concerns specifically are going to be arising with this low? You mentioned specifically on the Outer Banks of the Carolinas. Can you go into a little bit more detail on the coastal impacts?
Yeah, we've had a persistent north to northeast wind, so that water continues to pile up. Initially, we're seeing some water level rises, higher water on some of our sounds, the Pamlico Sound, the Neuse River, areas like down East Carteret County. Then oceanside areas, it hasn't been that long since we had Aaron impact our coast. So we have more vulnerable stretches of coastline, places like North Carolina Highway 12, the north side of Buxton, maybe the north side of Ocracoke Island. Some of those areas are susceptible to water. We haven't seen any ocean overwash yet. There are some reports of sand on North Carolina 12, and we expect later today at high tide at 4 o'clock and then 3 o'clock tomorrow. Those are some of the time periods we're most concerned with. Mainly nuisance flooding, but still, that water is salt water. So for vacationers, people not used to the flooding, this is more of a nuisance thing. Maybe not life-threatening, but you certainly don't want to drive through it. And then not a day to be at the beach. We have red flag conditions really for much of the east coast of North Carolina. In fact, some cases double red flags saying not to be in the water. So this is not a beach day. Don't want to be in the water with this coastal storm just off our coast.
And I like that you mentioned the impacts with Hurricane Erin as well, and kind of talking about some of those spots that were more susceptible. And of course, a low like this off the coast, not something that's completely out of the ordinary maybe for residents out there. If you had to pick one of the main threats that people should be the most aware of, what would you say is the biggest thing to pay attention to over the next couple of days?
I would say it's that rip current threat. The locals are used to this. We've had high water on some of the roads at high tide for the last couple high tides, especially down East Carteret County. So they're used to it. But people that may be just coming to the beach this week, they want good weather. They want to get in the water. They don't realize how powerful those waves are or how dangerous rip currents are. They are actually our biggest killer in the Carolinas. So stay out of the water, heed those red flags. And if you do that, I've got good news for you. Later this week, we're sunny in the 80s. So this is a book reading day. Go to the movies, go to some of the outlet malls, enjoy the inside, and then we'll pay you back on the back end. Later this week is fantastic.
I
So
love that.
just give it some time until we can get this storm out of here.
That's perfect. I love giving somebody or people just something good to look forward to. So,
That's
Erik,
right.
thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Is there anything else that you want to add to make sure that residents know?
One last thing, if we do get some of that heavy rain, it takes a while to drain away. So turn around, don't drown. The water may not look deep, but you never, ever want to cross a flooded road. So if some of that heavy rain sets up over northeast North Carolina later today, avoid any flooded roads.
Erik, we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us.